Have you ever considered customizing the buildings that you have to put on your games table? Well, if you have, then definitely stay tuned because today I'm going to be showing you an easy, simple method of adding a bit of customization to your buildings with very little effort and for very little cost. So without further ado, let's head down to the workbench and look at what we're going to be doing today. So here we have two of the tabletop ready terrain buildings for the Wild West from WarBases, and I've recently reviewed these. If you haven't seen that video already, I will leave a link in the description below and definitely check that video out. Now, one of the comments I made on that video was that these two buildings didn't really have much of an interior. So the exterior is very lovely and it's printed and it looks great. But when you get inside, only the floor has been done and the walls are essentially bare MDF. So I thought today I would give a couple of tips and tricks to just customizing these to make them look a little bit better. So what can we do about those walls? Well, first up, we could easily paint them, but that would take a little bit more effort and potentially you could get it on the printed floor. So a better idea or a simpler idea would be to wallpaper them. So I've got a couple of ways of doing that. So what we'll do is I'll clear these off the table and I'll show you some of the products we can use to wallpaper the interior walls of these buildings. So first up, I've picked up this pack of coloured paper. Now these come in 12-inch by 12-inch pieces. There are 2 sheets per colour, and I believe there are 12 colours in this. And these are ideal for sort of scrapbooking, card making, and party decor or decorations, as it says on the front here. And what I quite liked about this is that there was sort of more pastel-y colours, which would work quite nicely for wallpapers. And just to give you an example, here's one. I don't know how well that picks up on the light, but it's sort of a pale yellow colour. And there are other ones which, again, could look quite nice. I mean, even some of these look almost like magnolia. And if you have ever had to decorate a house, well, magnolia is often a bit of a go-to colour, to be quite honest. So this pack of paper would be ideal, and I think definitely 1 sheet from here would be enough to do all of the interior walls on any of those buildings that we've just looked at. So what I will be doing is I might use one of these sheets for the one of the buildings, just so that you can kind of get an idea what that looks. And then the other option is a printable PDF resource, which I picked up from Sarissa Precisions as part of the bundle with the how to sort of make MDF buildings look better. And one of the packs, the PDF packs you get, is it's a paper resource, and one of the resources is wallpaper. And essentially I've had these printed off at the printers on just standard paper, but they've obviously done a very, very nice job. So we've got 2 different, I can't remember how many, I think there's 10 different wallpapers, and I felt these 2 look the most appropriate for the Wild West. And again, these could easily be enough for a building each. And I think it's cost me pennies to print these off. And if you've got a decent, I'd go laser printer or rather than a jet printer, but either way, print them off on some standard paper or some photo paper, and actually they'd give you a good quality finish. So I'm going to use one of those for one of the buildings, and I'll use some of the other paper for one of the other buildings. And what I'll do, I'll go away, I'll cut those up. Basically what I'm going to do is measure the internal length of the wall and the height, and roughly cut a square that's slightly bigger than that, so that I can just trim up the edges and obviously trim the bits where the windows are. So I'll get on with that, and then I'll come back and I'll show you the finished result. Okay, and welcome back. So I've now wallpapered both of these. It didn't take too long. I did get bored after doing one of them, so I took a break and I came back the next day. But that can happen with anything, but fairly simple process, measuring the internal walls and then cutting it out. Obviously when it comes to the windows, the doors, I cut out the whole shape of the door. The windows I marked with pencil, so I marked onto the back of the paper through the window as we're looking at it now, and then measure about 0.5 mil outside of that box and then cut that out. And actually I think it looks all right. And one of the benefits of wallpapering, as you can hopefully see on the shop now, is that as you look in, you don't just see bare MDF. So if we very quickly have a look at these, I'll just show you inside here. We've got this lovely green and yellow wallpaper, and this is in the Gunsmiths. And then we'll just have a quick look in the trading post, and again it's this sort of white blue wallpaper. I haven't gone all the way up at the back in this one, but I'm not too worried about that, to be quite honest. So couple little tips that I picked up as I was doing this. With the printed wallpaper from WarBases, you have a white border around the outside. Don't cut that off before you start, because actually it's a really good little bit where you can put pencil mark without getting the pencil on the wallpaper, and then you can essentially line your ruler up with those 2 points and mark and cut across. Now when it comes to cutting, just do light but many strokes. You'll get through the paper without ripping it, and you actually can cut it in just 2 or 3 passes, but don't press too hard, just nice and light with the knife. And obviously the sharper the knife is, the better the cut. Now the other thing to remember is when you're cutting, try to have your ruler, your steel rule, covering the bit that you want to keep, and the bit that you're cutting that's exposed is the bit that you want to get rid of. Now these I think look tons better just with a bit of wallpaper, but we could take this a step further, and there's certainly plenty of products out on the market now, either resin cast pieces which you can buy off eBay, or various other various eBay stores or other war games terrain makers. 3D printing was of course really quite popular at the moment, and there's lots of various bits of furniture that you can find online in terms of 3D printing files, or companies that do 3D printing themselves. So for these I could get perhaps a couple of countertops for the sort of seller to be selling from, maybe a till. I could get maybe some sort of gun rack to put in there as well. I could even use some of the plastic weapons for the gunsmith off of the plastic sprues from Dead Man's Hand, or sorry, from Great Escape Games, and I could make those up and add those in, maybe even making a bit of rack just out of some lollipop stick or something like that. But again, doesn't have to be fancy, doesn't have to be particularly detailed, but it just, when you're looking in through the windows, just gives you something, catches your eye, and just is really cool, adds to these buildings. Now hopefully you found this really useful, and if you have to, please drop a comment below. Really keen to hear your thoughts and what you might do to these kits to spruce them up a little bit. Of course you can also dress the boardwalks in the front with, again, maybe 3D printed chairs, put some barrels down, all sorts of different things to spruce these up. And again, customize them to your needs and what your story is that you're trying to tell. Now, if you've enjoyed this video, then do check out my video on Sunday, where I'll be diving back into the world of Tolkien and making a start, hopefully, on Minas Tirith. I've done the planning, it's now into the building, and hopefully I can make some pretty rapid and good progress all at once. So do check out that video. And as always, take care, stay safe, and we'll see you soon.